Let's continue. Well, none of these species are directly related to modern whales, but their skeleton should suggest how a gradual transition from land mammal to aquatic whale could have happened. Well, what does it mean this? We can say simply that, well, there was a kind of structural and behavioral adaptation happened to the whale, in that case, changing parts, and this is an evidence of evolution. Well, definitely I'm not saying that the species did change. I'm saying that there was kind of a structure or behavioral adaptation lead to an inheritance trait to be passed from a generation to another, from a whale or from the organism to another organism, leads to an evidence of evolution, but we are not saying that the whole species did change. Okay, the first one, Pachycetus. The second organism, Ambulocetus natans. Letter C, Dorudon. Okay. Let's find out the similarities and the differences between these three creatures. We can say that whale-shaped skull and teeth for the first one, for Pachycetus. Whale-shaped skull and teeth adapted for hunting fish. Run on four legs. Ear bones in between those of land and aquatic mammals. Let's go to the other one. Ambulocetus natans. Name means the walking whale that swims. So it walks and swims. It walks and swims. We can say that there was a kind of structural adaptation happening here between that transitional stage from Pachycetus and Dorudon. What exactly was happening for the walking whale that swims? Hind-limbed that were adapted for swimming. A fish eater that lived on water and on land. Now, in that case, having two hands here look like fence structure or something allows the whale to move and to swim. What happened to the last one? The Dorudon? Well, it lived in warm seas and propelled itself with a long tail. Find out this. Imagine with me the type of the structural adaptation that happens here from a short tail, short legs, to long tail and no legs, or we can say dimensioned legs. It is not used anymore, that's why it's dimension, and that's Darwin theory, by the way. That's the word that I need you to know about Darwin theory, because it's a fact. If you are using an organ, that organ is getting stronger, but if you are not using a specific organ, with that organ is going to be dimensioned and vanished finally. And it's going to be inherited to your offspring. Okay, again let's see that part. Lived in warm seas and propelled itself with a long tail. Tiny hind legs couldn't be used for swimming. Definitely there's no usage, that's why we can say that the animal is not depending on them. Pelvis and hind limbs not connected to spin, couldn't support weight for walking. Yeah, that's it. It's no longer walking. So here, the point of comparison in these three structures, if we are talking about the structural adaptation, we can say that there was a structural adaptation occurs to these three creatures here over years. The tail get taller and the legs get smaller till it's vanished on dimension and the tail reach to the maximum. Okay, let's proceed to the next page. Yes, well, in that case we get a complete structure here for the whale, but definitely with no legs down there. The whale is no longer using that parts. In that case it's dimensioned. It was exist but dimensioned. As we said before, if you are not using a specific organ, that organ is getting weaker and you are going to inherit such weakness to the genes for the offspring that you are going to give them your chromosomes. We can say it will be inherited. Molecular evidence. Well, I'm not going to explain the principle of heredity, but I need you to compare these two generic variation or code for the genetic chromosome for the 4 nitrogenous bases adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine? Well, you will find a specific code 2CC, 2GGCA, till the end, blah blah blah. What I'm caring about, it is the differences between each code here for the two chromosomes. We can say the genetic arrangement here for something like hippopotamus and the hemp quail. The first differences here for the thymine nitrogenous base and cytosine. The first differences. Second one, it is C and G here in the third genetic variation. And the fourth one, or last one, you will find G and C here as a difference between the two type of the genetic variation. What the question here say, or in question number 12, identify, circle the pairs of the nitrogenous base that differ between the hippopotamus and the hemp quail DNA. Well, actually, we just mentioned it. Thymine, cytosine, guanine, thymine, guanine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. Well, that's the differences between the genetic variation here, the genetic bases, or the nitrogenous bases here in these two genetic variation. Well, in question number 3, in fair, the question exactly says, how do you think the spoons are involved in whale's movement? It's talking about that part, that structure. I need you to pause the video and try to find the answer. Think about the answer, pause the video, try to find the answer, then play the video back. Well, definitely, these tiny bones are not involved in the whale's movement at all. The whale is not using this structure in moving, actually. It uses fins and swimming. So, if we are talking about such part, well, actually its dimension getting weaker and weaker and weaker till it's not used at all. That's why the answer could be these tiny bones are not involved in the whale's movement at all. For question number 14, analyze. Examine the 4 skeletons, indicate which species appears to be best adapted for swimming underwater for a long time, which characters allow the animal to behave this way. Let's simply the answer is supposed to be the modern whale appears to be best adapted for swimming long distance underwater because it has fins. Actually, it has fins, and the function for such a structure is swimming fast, and can breathe underwater for a long time. Okay, by the end of that part, we can say that we end the lesson 3, evidence of evolution. Hope that you enjoyed the video. See you next time.